Good afternoon, this is Gray. I'm one of the staff members in the Scarlet and Blue Run8 server. Today's video will be how to safely use the Hump controllers in the major classification yards. The topics will cover how to engage the Hump controller, special AI train functions, and how to prevent the Hump train from corrupting itself. Let's work out of West Colton today. There are generally 4 portions to any classification yard. The receiving tracks where inbound trains will arrive, the bowl, which is where the inbound trains will go over the hump and be sorted via destination. Then there may be some storage or bowl overflow tracks, and finally, the departure tracks where complete trains can be built and made ready for a player to take on its journey. The first thing that I'll do before starting any movements in the classification yard is look through the departure tracks. What trains have already been built? Are there any trains that can be built from departure or storage tracks? Are all the departure tracks occupied and trains need to leave the classification yard before performing any work? If you're unsure of the general outbound trains from a specific classification yard, refer to the appropriate job post if you're in a server. If you're in single player, you can build a train as you please. It doesn't even need to make any sense. Once I've confirmed that there's room to build an outbound train, I'll then take a look at the overflow and bowl tracks. Is there a lot of cars going to a single destination, or perhaps several cuts of cars all going in the same direction? Those could be combined into a singular manifest and make drop-offs along its journey at various yards. If it doesn't look like there's enough cars in the bowl or storage tracks to build a new train, I'll fly up to the receiving yard and do a very brief fly-through of the available trains. Is there a train here that contains a lot of cars that I'm looking for? If it's a random jumble, wonderful, you can send any train over the hump. Is there any power and caboose attached still? Pull them off and hustle those over to the locomotive servicing facilities. At this point, I'll issue a warning that if you don't follow these procedures to the exact order, you will likely corrupt the hump and require a server restart. Obviously, this is highly disruptive to any other players on the server. Before we get too far into this, I highly recommend making some teleport points at a few different locations throughout the yard by using left shift and 1 through 5 at the top of your keyboard. You'll be able to jump to any of these points you make by pressing left control and 1 through 5. I'll make one teleport point at the top of the receiving yard, at the hump controller, which should always near be the crest of the hump, at the bottom of the bowl tracks, and one at the bottom of the departure tracks. Now, make a world save. Call it whatever you want, but I generally settle for something along the lines of humping time. This will create a save of the receiving yard and bowl if you're connected to the server and will be extremely helpful for server staff if something corrupts. Now, I'll move any power that has been left from the previous cruise and send it up to the top of the receiving yard. I'll make sure that the switches are lined, then rename the lead locomotive to something along the lines of WC or WCHUM and hand it over to AI. The AI crew will take it up to the top of the receiving yard and then relinquish the power. Now, we can activate the hump controller by standing near the top of the hump, pressing left control and F6. If there are more than one hump program in the left column under configuration, please refer to any server documentation. If you are curious about what the first row of buttons does, please refer to the Configuring Hump Yards v3 PDF found in the User Guides folder located where you installed Run8. In theory, you should never need to touch these while connected to a server. In the second row, enable the auto pin puller and hump controller status. Now, we can go up to the top of the receiving yard, take the hump set that's already up here and attach it to the train we've selected to go over the hump. Once you've coupled up to the cut of cars, rename the lead locomotive to West Colton Hump. Now open the dispatch screen, line any switches, Then manually fly the route from the end of the train to the hump to ensure it's correct. And only now do we want to go and hand our train over to AI control. Oh, looks like something went a little goofy here. The mistake I made was not keeping the CTC switch locked while I was traveling over it. Otto saw a locked CTC switch and had the initial hump set traveling up to the top of the yard. Otto does not know that those locomotives will be stopping and relinquishing, so he was giving them a route out of the yard. What I should have done is kept the CTC switch unlocked, or blue, while I was occupying the switch. Once I cleared the switch, only then should I have locked the switch back so Otto could use it. Alright, now that this whole little issue was resolved, it's now safe to hand this train over to AI control. The hump train will proceed towards the hump and proceed to be sorted. Now, what happens if a bull track fills to capacity or is nearing capacity? If a bull track is filled to capacity, the hump train will automatically stop and the hump controller will self-disable. Please note that if there are any cars in motion, they may be misrouted. If you wish to use the trim locomotives located at the bottom of the bowl, you can sneak into the bowl, couple up to a bull track that is nearing full capacity, and pull the cut of cars into any of the storage or departure tracks. Just know that if you attempt to do this while the hump is still in motion, and the hump sends a car into the track that you are currently occupying, the hump will shut itself down if that car couples onto your train. If there is a single point in the video that is the most critical, this is it. What do I do if the hump train stops itself before it finishes? The chances of the train corrupting is extremely high if the following procedure is not followed exactly. Let's simulate what happens if one of the bull tracks fills to capacity by manually stopping the train and disabling the hump controller. At this point, you will need to disable the auto pin puller. Now, go to the head end of the hump train and assume control of it. The first thing we'll do up here is close the rear locomotive's angle cock. Then, bleed the entire train using left control and F7. Try to teleport to the back of the train. If left shift F12 won't take you back there, manually fly there or use the hump controller teleport point we set up earlier. If you click on the rear coupler, you will notice that several of the buttons that are grayed out should not be, such as the place EOT or flag buttons. If you attempt to restart the hump, the train will corrupt. To fix this, you will need to relinquish the train, then take control of it again. If, for some reason, the rear car is still broken, relinquish the train and alert server staff. Now, pull the hump train forward at least 5 car lengths. Make sure you clear the walkway. Remember, you only have the locomotive brakes to work with now. Be gentle on the throttle and the independent brakes. There's no need to go fast here. The gentler you are with the hump train, the less likely it is to corrupt. Enable the pin puller and the hump controller, then hand the train back over to AI. Once the hump train wraps up its exhilarating exercise, the AI crew will go off duty to take a break, at which point you can start the process over and send the next train over the hump, or start building a new outbound train. Please feel free to ask any questions or request further video topics in the appropriate channel. Run8 out.